ज्ञानञ्जन चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथामृतं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखामृतंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you to our Gita classes once again. For all those of you all who can keep your cameras on, please do feel free to keep them on. It's always wonderful to have darshan of all of you. So we are continuing from chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, and this chapter is entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized. So far in this chapter, we have been discussing the first 7 verses of this chapter. And as I had mentioned last time, the entire chapter has an acronym Gita. And the first 10 verses are describing the concept of Guru, the role of Guru in our lives. And today, this particular verse is actually going to be a very defining verse that we're discussing, which actually talks about Arjun taking shelter of a teacher, of a Guru. And just read the verse and then we'll start the discussion from where we left off last time. Karpanya dosha pahata swabhava prichhami tvam dharma samoda chetah yakshreyasyam nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. So here the word Shishyasteham Shadi Mam Tvam Prapannam is the most significant words here. The word Shishya obviously means disciple. Teham means, I am a disciple surrendered to you. Mam Tvam Prapannam, the word Prapanna is referring to the concept of surrender, taking shelter. So here Arjun has taken shelter of Krishna as his teacher. And this verse is considered to be a defining verse of the Gita because there's a change of mood at this point in the Gita. So far, Arjun has been a friend, more or less. But in this particular verse, the friend is becoming a disciple. It's almost like a change of role. It's almost like a change of consciousness, the change of mood, the change of acceptability of Krishna's role in our lives. So we are all more or less like Arjun in our own journeys of life, and we are all more or less like Arjun in our situation of life. And the role of the teacher is almost same as Arjun's need for a teacher in his life and the role of Krishna in Arjun's life. So keeping that in mind, we'll continue our discussion and understand what really the role of a teacher is, and especially at this point in Arjun's life, why does he feel the need of a teacher? Why does he feel the need that he needs to surrender to a guru, a teacher in his life? Life is complex, isn't it? There are so many perplexities in life. Very often in the scriptural context, um, life is compared to a forest fire. Rather, situations of life are compared to a forest fire. Um, in a forest fire, the interesting thing is that no one knows how the fire came up. I mean, there is one question that no one can answer. If you come across a forest fire in your life, you shouldn't ask the question how it began, because that question has no answer. That question has no answer. It has no logical answer. It has no practical answer. Similarly, in our life, we suffer um, many times, and we don't know what the reason is. Two people are fighting over something, and a third person takes advantage of it, and a third person sometimes gets affected by it also. So now, why you are having problem in your life, why you are having pain in your life, you can't get an answer to it. There are no clear answers, right? So there are many situations in our life which are almost like fire. The feeling is the same. The feeling of burning, the feeling of heat, the feeling of anxiety, the feeling of suffering is the same as if you are in a forest fire. And therefore, in the morning, every day in the morning we have a beautiful prayer which is known as Guru Ashtakam, and the Guru Ashtakam prayers begins with a very very interesting verse, and this verse says, "Samsara dava nalali the loka tranaya karunya gana ganatvam." What this verse means is that samsara dava nala, this material world, this world in which we are, is compared to a davanala, which means it's compared to a forest fire. And then when we are in the forest fire, you cannot extinguish a forest fire by fire brigades. You cannot extinguish forest fire by helicopters and throwing buckets of water. And no matter what you do, you cannot extinguish it. The only way the forest fire can get extinguished, the only way is Tranaya Karunya Ghana Ghanatvam. The only way a forest fire can get extinguished is if there is torrential rainfall. And interestingly, this verse continues to say, Samsara Dava Nalali the Loka, Tranaya Karanya Ghana Ghanatvam, Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya, Vande Guru Charanaravindam. It means the spiritual master's mercy is like a rain cloud that showers rain in our lives. So we are in a perplexing, very, very intense forest fire, and we don't know how it has begun, but we know we are suffering in it, intensely suffering in it. There is no solution for it. The only solution is if somehow the mercy of the spiritual master showers on us, which means that someday when we actually start getting access to true, genuine spiritual knowledge through a bona fide spiritual master, that is the day that we can deal with the perplexities and complexities of our life and stop feeling the heat, stop feeling the suffering, stop feeling the intense pain that we are going through in our lives. Therefore, the spiritual master's mercy is like this torrential rainfall. The situations of our life don't change. When you come into spiritual life, don't think that your problems will get solved automatically. A lot of people, when they start attending Gita classes, when they start chanting and all that, the expectation is, if I start doing spiritual practices, then my problems will get solved. I'm telling you straight away, don't expect your problems to get solved. Don't expect you will not have problems. Don't expect that the pain and tribulations won't be there the moment you start practicing spiritual life. But what really happens is this: the situations in life don't change, the problems don't change, anxiety, troubles don't change, worries don't go away just by chanting. But because one gets connected to this massive rain cloud of mercy, the spiritual master, his mercy, his knowledge, his guidance, his direction changes the perspective of a person's life. When you have access to that mercy and direction, your problems will not go, but your ability to deal with them will grow. Your ability to handle them, your perspectives to look at the situations of life will change completely. And that's as good as actually dealing with them nicely. It's as good as actually solving them nicely. And this is one of the most powerful roles of a spiritual master in our life. The spiritual master is like a GPRS system. The idea of a spiritual master who actually shows us direction is so very, very important in our lives. And the spiritual master, just like a GPRS, the moment you put in a path or rather a destination, the GPRS system gives direction. Go there, go in this way, go in that way, like that, right? So Guru is like the GPRS system, giving us direction in our lives to get to the destination that we desire, guiding us to control our false egos, our pride, and step by step telling us what the pitfalls are, which wrong, when you take a wrong turn, he tells you now take this route, and gives you warnings. In fact, it's a very advanced GPRS system. It tells us where the speed breakers are, where where you're going wrong, and where you're supposed to slow down. Very advanced GPRS system, and where you're supposed to speed up also. Yeah, and of course, finally, the spiritual master helps us reach the spiritual world, and that's when his role actually ends in our life. So when Arjun he is talking to Krishna, he's talking about how he is desperate to take shelter of the Lord. And in the next verse, Arjun actually tells Krishna, he said, "My dear Lord, I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in the heaven." So Arjuna is telling Krishna, nothing can help me drive this grief away. So Krishna tells him, it's a very interesting dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna at this point. The Acharyas put it in a very interesting conversational way. I share what is going on between Arjuna and Krishna here. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, why have you come to me? I'm your friend. Why have you come to me? You should go to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva will give you knowledge. You are lamenting, you're crying, you're confused. But by knowledge, all your lamentation will go away. All your confusion will go away. Go to Vyasadeva, Krishna tells Arjuna. Arjuna tells him, no, even Vyasadeva cannot help me. I cannot see anyone in the creation who can actually drive away my lamentation. One may have a lot of lamentation in our lives, but even if somebody has a lot of knowledge, they cannot always help us deal with our lamentation, right? We know it all. We know what to do, and we still cry, and we still weep, we're still confused. Knowledge does not always help us, isn't it? So Arjuna is telling Krishna, Vyasadeva knowledge won't help me. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, if Vyasadeva cannot help you drive away your lamentation, but at least you go and fight and get the throne of Hastinapur. Once you get the throne, your lamentation will go. Arjuna tells him, even if I get the throne, my lamentation will not go. My confusion will not be gone. Knowledge, money, resources are useless to drive away material grief. So Krishna tells Arjuna, if you fight, you will at least attain the heavenly planets. You will have control over the devatas. You will enjoy a beautiful, blissful life over there. Arjuna says, even if I am in the heavens, even then my lamentation will not go away. So Krishna asks him, what will take your lamentation away? Can you tell me? Arjuna tells him, you are the only person who can help me drive away my lamentation, O Krishna. Only Krishna, only you, Arjuna tells him. Not even Vyasadeva, the writer of all the scriptures, not even an unrivaled supremacy in the heavens cannot, and a kingdom on the earth cannot. It is only your words, your guidance, and your help that will help me clear this confusion and deal with this lamentation. A lot of us, we are in this world and we're doing a lot of things. Unfortunately, while we're doing a lot of things, what we end up doing is we juggle with a lot of balls. Typically 5 very important balls of life. work, family, health, friends, and spirit. Spirit refers to your connection with God. A lot of these balls are glass balls, and some of them are rubber balls. Unfortunately, I mean, if a rubber ball falls, what happens? When you're juggling 5, 6 balls with your hand, if a rubber ball falls, what happens? Nothing much. It bounces, comes back to your hand, right? But if a glass ball falls, what happens? It hits the floor and shatters, isn't it? In our life, we are juggling with a combination of rubber balls and glass balls. So, work is a rubber ball. If you drop it also, it will bounce back. But family, health, friends, especially a spiritual life, is like glass balls. If a glass ball falls, it will never return back in its original shape again. So, prioritizing spiritual life is so very important. Arjuna is telling Krishna here, no one can help me. Money can't help me. Unrivaled kingdom can't help me. Knowledge can't help me. All the intelligence in the world cannot help me. Nothing can help me except you. A lot of times in our own lives, we come to a point where we realize that I need help. And unfortunately, we don't have the right person to take help of. Here, Arjun turns towards Krishna and calls him his teacher. So, Arjun says this, and then he tells Krishna something very simple. He says, Govinda, I shall not fight anymore. And Arjun falls silent. So from first chapter all the way till the second chapter, 9th verse, Arjun is speaking a lot. He's pretty talkative, isn't it? He's been pretty talkative for so many verses, literally. In the 9th verse, he says conclusively, I shall not fight. Stops talking. The moment Arjun stops speaking in the 10th verse, there is a very interesting transformation in Krishna's personality. Krishna smiles. So it's this 10th verse says, O descendant of Bharata. At that time, Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjun. Prahasan iva Bharata. So, this is a very important juncture in the Bhagavad Gita. The talk so far was going on between two friends, Rishikesha and Gudakesha, Krishna and Arjun. Two friends were talking to each other very beautifully. Now, one of them has voluntarily become a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend has chosen to become a disciple. Why does Krishna smile? Because now he has to change his role from being a friend to being a guru, to being a teacher. So, only the combination of a Krishna and Arjun becomes beautiful when you look at this from this point of view. The combination of a smiling Krishna and a crying Arjun is what creates Bhagavad Gita. If Arjun and Krishna both are smiling, Bhagavad Gita won't happen. If Arjun and Krishna both are crying, Bhagavad Gita won't happen. The combination for Gita to happen is a smiling Krishna and a crying Arjun. The crying Arjun indicates confusion, lamentation, desperation, frustration, irritation, sadness, and confusion. And a smiling Krishna indicates confidence, knowledge, clarity, vision, purpose, and a desire to help. That combination is what is the guru-disciple combination. Krishna smiling indicates that he is above this world. Everyone in this world, no matter how big his smile externally is crying from within. So we are all a combination of smiling faces, crying hearts. You ask anyone, how are you? Big smile on the face. But inside there is a heart full of lamentation and frustration, sadness, confusion, lack of clarity. The Bhagavad Gita is a book that can bring smiling faces and smiling hearts. Today, our condition is that our faces are smiling, our hearts are crying. But Bhagavad Gita is meant not just put a smile on your face, but also to put a smile in your heart. And this is a transformation that that will happen when we connect with the spiritual master in the most intense way. The spiritual master's role is so important in our lives. Unfortunately, today's teachers are hardly teachers, right? Most leaders today are actually misleaders to a great extent. So the question of teaching is unfortunately not there in its true essence today. Like one guy, one education inspector came to a school, and he was just going to different classrooms and asking different questions. He just wanted to test the knowledge of kids and see if they know anything about Ramayana. So he just walked into one classroom, and he asked all the children, "Who broke Lord Shiva's bow?" Nobody could answer, And the inspector got very angry and asked the teacher. None of the kids know anything over here. And the teacher, she panicked, She said, sorry. I don't know who broke it. I can at least tell you I didn't break it. The inspector went to the principal and he said, come on, what is going on? Your teacher is saying I didn't break Shiva's bow. And the principal is saying, please calm down. It's okay. Whoever broke it, the school will pay the money for it. Unfortunately, in today's world, those are supposed to be teachers, who are actually supposed to be gurus, who are actually supposed to share knowledge. They themselves have no idea what really knowledge is. There is a word in the Gita which defines what a true teacher is. It says Tattvavit. What is the meaning of Tattvavit? Tattvavit means a true teacher, a bona fide teacher in any area knows his subject very well. It's so important for a teacher to know the subject very well, isn't it? And therefore, what is a temple? A temple is like a university where you have teachers and gurus who can teach you the science of spirituality. Technically, if you actually look at it from the last so many weeks that we have been all together, I think it's technically almost close to about 29 weeks that we're all together, almost more than half a year, And what you're experiencing is spiritual classes which are very curated for a modern audience, isn't it? Technically, this is an online temple going on. We may not have the structure of a temple physically, but this is nothing less than a temple that we are all experiencing online, isn't it? And this is the purpose of visiting a temple. The purpose of visiting a temple, the purpose of attending any kind of spiritual going to any kind of spiritual institution is gaining knowledge from bona fide teachers. And that is one of the most powerful things that happens when we come across bona fide teachers in our lives. The teacher teaches us SAP. Those who are into SAP programming, you will be wondering, what is this new SAP that I'm talking about? What does SAP mean? What is the role of a teacher? One of the things that the Guru teaches us is SAP. It's called Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojan. The word Sambandha means desiring to establish a relationship based on knowledge. It's called Sambandha Gyan. So Like, for example, when you hear about the good qualities of someone, based on that knowledge, you establish someone or relationship with that person, right? So whenever you want to develop any relationship with anyone, you first hear the good qualities of that person. And the more you hear good qualities of the person, the more you feel connected to that person, isn't it? That's what is called Sambandha Gyan. So the first thing the Guru does is gives you a lot of knowledge about God, a lot of knowledge about his creation, the understanding that the living entity is not the body but a spirit soul. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. He is a person who is very merciful, kind, loving, affectionate, powerful, etc. Understand our position as a servant of the Lord and the desire to revive the relationship with God. This is known as Sambandha Gyan. And the second thing the teacher teaches us is Abhidhaya Gyan. The Sambandha means understanding the relationship with God. Abhidhaya means the process of reviving the relationship with God. Just like there's a boy and girl relationship, the process of connecting with between a boy and girl is very, very simple, straightforward process, right? The boy gives a flower to the girl, some kind of gifts to the girl. The girl, gives something to the boy. Money is spent, gifts are given, card is exchanged. The process is very clear in this world for material, mundane relationships, isn't it? But how do you develop a relationship with God? What is the process? That is known as Abhidhaya. So Guru will explain, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Aparahatam Ashnami Priyatatmanaha. The Guru will explain to us that go and give one flower to Krishna, give a fruit to Krishna, give a little water to Krishna, offer little leaves to Krishna, and Krishna will accept it. Chant Hare Krishna, chant the holy names of Krishna, offer obeisances to Krishna, give your mind to Krishna. So as the Guru teaches us the process, Abhidhaya, that process as we follow, the Sambandha becomes stronger. So the Guru teaches us Sambandha Gyan, second is Abhidhaya Gyan, and third is Prayojana Gyan. So what is the meaning of Prayojana? Prayojana means fruit of that relationship. So you understand that you have a relationship with God, then you understand the process of how to revive the relationship with God, and then you experience the fruit of the relationship with God. And what is the fruit of the relationship with God? It's known as love of God. It's known as Prema Pumartha Mahan. Prema or love of God is the fruit of our devotion. So just like a boy and girl, they understand each other, they develop a relationship with each other, they revive the relationship very strongly through the process of Abhidhaya, and then eventually they get married and they have children, right? That's the process. Very, very clear process. Similarly, with God also, we understand knowledge about God, we gain knowledge about God, we start developing our connection with God, we follow a process of sadhana bhakti to revive the relationship with God, and then as we follow the process, one day we will develop the fruit of the relationship, which is love for God. As one decides to follow what the Guru teaches us, such a person will experience the joy of Krishna consciousness at some point. So Prayojana is the fruit, and it is not theory, it is practical, and one will experience it as one practices it. That is what the meaning of Prayojana is. So this is one of the roles of the teacher, to teach us SAP, Sambandha, Abhidhaya, and Prayojana. The second role that the Guru plays in our life is the role of a magnet. Guru is like a magnet that aligns one's desires, words, and actions in the service of Krishna. People in this world have unlimited desires, isn't it? And these unlimited desires manifest in all directions and from all directions. Unfulfilled desires create a lot of anxiety and frustration in life. It's like, if you scatter a lot of iron filings, just throw them around the place, right? And if you get one powerful magnet, what happens? You put that magnet close to the iron filings, all of them just get attracted to the magnet and stick to the magnet, right? And you know what happens with the iron filings? They all get aligned in one direction. If you have studied science, you'll understand that, the magnet has the ability to change the direction and orientation of all the iron filings in one direction. So you take a magnet and you take an iron or a piece and you just keep rubbing the magnet in one direction, again and again and again, what will happen? Inside, all the molecules of the iron filling start moving in one direction, basically. And the iron filling actually gets the same properties as that of a magnet. Similarly, our hearts have millions of desires scattered in all different directions, and they all misaligned here and there, causing a lot of confusion in life. You know what the Guru does? The Guru comes and starts aligning our hearts, all our desires in one direction, again and again and again and again. You hear the 29th class, you hear the first class, you hear the 101st class. The message is the same. You're trying to align your hearts in all the desires in one direction, aligning it towards Krishna. That's it. That's what our role is. So right now, our desires are all scattered in all directions. We're thinking of practically everything in the world. And it's so confusing, so much lack of clarity. But as we start hearing the Gita, you find a direction coming. It's all getting aligned in one direction. You might say that every time we're hearing the same thing. Yes, that's what we need to hear. We are all confused people. We are hearing so many things and our desires in so many directions. We all need that alignment to help us think in the right direction and in one direction only. That is the role of the spiritual master, who gives us such clarity. Human desires are unlimited. It is said that if you have a paper as big as the sky, imagine a paper as big as the sky, and imagine that all the trees in this world become a pen. All the trees you use to make one pen, and you use all the water in all the oceans in this world to put ink in it. Still, the paper will get filled, the ink will get over, and the pen will break. But still, the list of your desires won't end. That is the number of desires we actually have. And the role of the spiritual master is to help us get all that together and just help us look at in everything in one direction specifically. Who is a Mahatma? Mahatma is someone whose desires, words, and actions are all aligned in one direction. In other words, a Mahatma is someone who has integrity, that is, practices what he preaches. And therefore, one who lives a life of endless desires, there's no question of peace and happiness. And in such a mind, one is absolutely doomed. It is a guru who pulls one's scattered desires together and aligns it. As one's desires become aligned, the words, actions automatically align together. And therefore, the guru makes a conditioned living being into a Mahatma. That's when we can truly be happy. The role of the teacher is to make conditioned living beings into a Mahatma. And how does Guru do that? He aligns the conditioned soul's desire towards Krishna and his seva. That's what the Guru does. And that's the way he helps us align all our desires in one direction. The next role of a Guru in our life is that he connects us with Krishna. Krishna is like a power station. Krishna is like a power station. All our acharyas, all our gurus coming in parampara are like substations. And our guru, our immediate teacher, is like a plug point. The living entity, all of us are like appliances, chargers, mobile phones, we are devices and appliances, right? So now, if you want to charge an appliance, what will you do? Will you go and put the charger on the power station? Fast charging ho jayega, Will you do that? Go to the power station and put your charger over there so that your mobile gets charged faster? No, your mobile will blast. You can't handle so much power. So Krishna is like that power station. There is too much power there. So we can't directly connect with Krishna. The acharyas are like substations. We can't even connect there. They're too powerful for us. And therefore, we need someone who is accessible to us. The immediate teacher that we have is like a plug point. The power station is connected to the plug point through many substations. And then when it comes to the plug point, it comes in a voltage that we can handle, right? The Guru gives us current, Guru gives us knowledge, the Guru gives us information in a level at which we can handle. Therefore, only when we connect to a Guru, connection to Krishna is possible. So there are three benefits of connecting with Krishna. When anyone connects with Krishna, one derives three benefits. The first benefit is knowledge, which can enlighten one to their true identity. Second is Krishna's mercy and grace, which can help and save us from the ocean of material existence. And third is love of God. The love which the conditioned soul is yearning for. And this is the love which satisfies the heart. The bona fide spiritual master is more or less like a selfless, like a mother. Because only through the bona fide spiritual master can one get love of God. The next role of a guru in our life, guru is like a farmer who sows seed in the land to reap a harvest. The living entity's heart, all our hearts, is like a farm, a field, or a piece of land. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye, Bhakti Lata Bija. It says, Guru is like a farmer. He takes the seed of devotion and plants it into our hearts. Our hearts are very often like barren pieces of land. Nothing has grown for ages together, And even if something has grown, it has mostly been thorny plants, very bitter fruits and very, very, tasteless fruits. But Guru, first thing he does is he tills our heart. He prepares our heart for the seed of devotion to go in. We are not prepared. Therefore, we do Journey of Self-Discovery course. Journey of Self-Discovery is almost like preparing the heart, It's like tilling the land and preparing the heart. If anyone attends the Journey of Self-Discovery course, their heart is prepared for the seed of devotion to be planted. And the more sincerely you hear, the more intensely your heart gets really prepared for the seed of devotion. And the teacher, after your heart is prepared, drops the seed of devotion in your heart. And the seed is it's planted in the heart, and then weekly classes happen. It's like watering the plant, watering the seed that has been put in the heart. So every week we prepare so nicely and water the heart so nicely. And then we request you, please chant the holy names. Please, have your personal sadhana and spiritual practices. Offer food to God. Eat prasad. Have darshan of the holy deities. All that is like putting manure. The heart is prepared. The seed is dropped in, and water is being poured. There is so much of manure being poured. Then slowly the plant of devotion begins to grow. And this Bhakti Lata Bija is so very important. And who puts that seed in? That's the role of a teacher. The teacher. And the most interesting thing is that we are not even interested in it. Most students today are not interested in devotion. But somehow the teacher, tricks us and somehow convinces us, and somehow it's like a mother who's trying to feed the baby. The baby is not interested in eating only. The mother says some story and the baby's mouth opens and the mother puts the food in, And that's exactly what happens with all of us, So we are not interested in devotion. We are not interested in doing bhakti and all that. But somehow the teacher inspires us so much that our mouth opens up a little bit. And then the right kind of food is put in. And without even knowing it, only you have eaten it. And then that nourishes you and that helps you really so much. The role of a teacher is the one who gives us direction in life. Normally, people always say, it is my way or the highway, isn't it? That's normally what we are all used to, my way or the highway. But the Guru comes into our life and tells us, it is neither your way nor the highway. It is Krishna's way. And the Guru helps us understand what is Krishna's way by teaching us the Gita, by teaching us the message of the Bhagavad Gita. And that it really helps us align ourselves in the right direction. The next reason is that the spiritual master is amazing in a very beautiful way. Let me give you an analogy to help us how the spiritual master brings nourishment to our life. Just like a lotus flower, if you have seen a lotus flower, the lotus flower is very beautiful, isn't it? But the interesting thing for a lotus flower to bloom so beautifully, it has to have two things. One, it has to have sunshine on top. And second, it has to have water below. If there's only sunshine on top and there's no water below, the lotus will dry up. If there's only water below and there's no sunshine on top, the lotus cannot blossom powerfully. You need a combination of sunshine on top and water below, isn't it? For a lotus to bloom beautifully. Similarly, in our lives, we are like that lotus. Initially in our spiritual journeys, we are like a closed lotus bud. But for us to bloom into beautiful lotus flowers, we need the sunshine of Krishna's grace on top of us. But sunshine by itself is very, very intense. The lotus cannot handle only the sunshine unless it has water below. The spiritual master's mercy is like water below for the lotus. So the lotus which has the spiritual master's mercy below and the sunshine on top, Krishna's grace on top, that lotus blooms into something beautiful. And that's what the role of a teacher is in our life. So in essence, we spoke about 6 reasons why we need a teacher in our life. We first spoke about teacher, the Guru teaches us SAP, Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojana. The second reason we spoke about is Guru is like a magnet that aligns one's desires, words and actions in the service of Krishna. The third reason we spoke about is how Guru connects one to Krishna. The fourth reason we spoke about how Guru sows the seed of bhakti in one's heart. The fifth reason we spoke about is how the Guru is the one who gives direction in our life. And finally, we spoke about how the Guru is the one who gives nourishment to our life, like the water below the lotus flower. The spiritual master does so many amazing things in our lives. And the role of a spiritual master is so important and so relevant. So here, when Arjun is surrendering to the spiritual master, is taking shelter of the spiritual master, as soon as he comes into our life, as soon as he approaches us, enters into our life, the spiritual master gives us instructions. The spiritual master tells us, the do's and don'ts of our on the path of our spirituality. So there are different types of spiritual masters, the different types of teachers that come into our life. The first type of teacher is known as Pata Pradakshak Guru. As I'm telling you all these different types of teachers, all of you will immediately recognize how all these teachers have played a role in your life. Who is a Pata Pradakshak Guru? Pata Pradakshak Guru is someone who tells you, hey, there's a program going on. Do you want to attend it? Pata Pradakshak Guru is someone who might come and give you a flyer, Pata Pradakshak Guru might be somebody who sends you a WhatsApp forward for the Journey of Self-Discovery course. They are the ones who give you the first connection with a bona fide process or a bona fide guru. They are people you have to be grateful to. I'm sure all of you recognize who your Pata Pradakshak Guru is, right? For some of you, it may be your friends. For some of you, it may be some neighbor. For some of you, it may be some WhatsApp forward. You don't even know who's that Pata Pradakshak Guru of yours. Somebody has forwarded the message to you. But that person is the Pata Pradakshak Guru for you. The person who gives you the first entry into our spiritual journeys. The second spiritual teacher, second guru in our life is known as Chaitya Guru. Chaitya Guru is a very interesting type of guru. Who's a Chaitya Guru? The word Chaitya comes from the word Chitta. So the word Chitta means heart, right? So Chaitya Guru means the Guru who is sitting in our heart. All of us have a Guru sitting in our own hearts. Who is that? The Paramatma. The Paramatma is sitting in all our hearts and he is your second teacher. What does the Paramatma do? The The Paramatma from inside you starts telling you, starts speaking to you, sees your sincerity. And I tell you, it is so magical how the Paramatma acts. If someone sincerely wants to hear, understand Gita, if someone sincerely desires to actually get connected to a bona fide spiritual movement, to a bona fide teacher, someone sincerely desires it, the Paramatma inside the heart guides that person. The Paramatma inside the heart guides a person to somebody external. This is known as Ch2 Guru. So for a lot of people who say, I don't have a teacher, no, you all have a teacher inside your heart. And that teacher who's inside your heart always connects you to a teacher who's outside your heart. This is the second teacher in our lives, Ch2 Guru. The third teacher in our life is known as Siksha Guru. What is the meaning of Siksha Guru? The word Siksha means teaching, right? Sikshak means teacher. Siksha means teaching. So Siksha Guru is someone who gives us knowledge. All of us, we are gaining knowledge from so many sources. So you can have so many Siksha Gurus. But in the path of bhakti, the one who actually gives you knowledge about Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojana, first knowledge, first source of knowledge, and really fills your heart with so much nourishment and knowledge, that person is a Siksha Guru. And in our movement, in ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, it's a primarily Siksha movement where we have so many teachers who give us such amazing wisdom and knowledge to understand our connection with God. And Siksha Guru is somebody who teaches, helps, and guides a sincere soul. One can have more than one Siksha Guru from whom you can hear, learn, and practice the process of Krishna consciousness. Among all the Siksha Gurus that you have, you may have 100 Siksha Gurus. Among all the Siksha Gurus that you have, you may be inspired by one particular Siksha Guru who then becomes your guide. Ideally, it is great in the initial phase of our spiritual journeys to stick to one Siksha Guru who can really guide you nicely. At least the first 2 or 3 years of your spiritual life, it is good to stick to one Siksha Guru that you learn properly from, imbibe everything properly from, and then all your life you explore hundreds of other Siksha Gurus that you can get access to. Because when you stick to one Siksha Guru, you'll get to learn the entire knowledge in a very, very crystal clear manner and in a very systematic manner. A lot of people, what they do end up doing is they do guru hopping. They hear little from here, they hear little from there, they hear little from there, and then they don't understand anything in the end. So it gets so confusing because everybody's mood is only different. So in the beginning phase of our spiritual life, it's wonderful if you can just stick to one Siksha Guru nicely and learn a lot. And then when you're nourished nicely and very clear in your sadhana and your spiritual practice, then you hear from 100 different Siksha Gurus. From after connecting with the Siksha Guru wonderfully and learning so much, then comes the next part, which is known as Diksha Guru. Diksha Guru means the bona fide spiritual master who gives you initiation into the spiritual process. This is your official connection with Krishna, the person whose orders you abide from. Diksha Guru is like the plug point which connects you to Krishna. Here you take formal vows of chanting a fixed number of rounds or beads, following regulator principles, committing their life to Krishna consciousness. This process of Diksha or initiation is actually a very powerful connection with the bona fide spiritual master. This is the next type of spiritual master or guru that one can have. The spiritual master, the role of the most important qualification of a guru is that he has to be connected in parampara. Nowadays you have a lot of new age gurus, and they very proudly claim that I have learned it all by myself. They proudly claim I have sorted my life myself. That is the biggest disqualification for spiritual life. That is the biggest disqualification to being a guru. A guru is not someone who sorts out his own life himself. The guru is someone who's connected to a parampara of bona fide teachers. If you remember the Journey of Self-Discovery course, we spoke about 4 defects of a human being, right? The 4 defects were imperfect senses, the tendency to be illusioned, committing mistakes, and cheating propensity. These are 4 defects of a human being. With these defects, one cannot be perfect in knowledge. And therefore, one needs to connect to a bona fide parampara. The first qualification of someone who is a bona fide guru, is a qualified guru, is that he has to be in parampara. So if you look at ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder of ISKCON, he is connected to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You look at the photographs that are in front of you, Prabhupada is the last photo right below, He's connected to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is connected to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who is connected to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is connected to Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. And the parampara goes back all the way to Lord Chaitanya, to Madhvacharya, to Vyasdev, to Narad Muni, to Lord Brahma, and then finally to Lord Krishna himself. This is known as parampara. It's known as an unbroken chain of disciplic succession. This is the first qualification of a spiritual master, that he has to be in a parampara. The second qualification of the spiritual master is that Srila Prabhupada would often say, the bona fide guru has to be a postal peon. So what is a peon? Peon is someone who takes a letter and gives it somewhere else. He doesn't add something in between. He doesn't subtract anything in between, right? I'm sure all of you all have dealt with clerks and peons in your offices, right? What does a peon do? Takes a letter from here, goes and gives it there. In between, he doesn't open the letter and see if the contents are all right. He doesn't, change it. He doesn't delete it. He doesn't throw it away and add a new letter in between. Nothing like that. So the guru, acharya, is someone who does not add anything, who does not subtract anything. He conveys the message as it is. And therefore, if you look at Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, it is entitled as Bhagavad Gita as it is, which means that he is giving you the message as it is. He has not added something of his own. He has not deleted something of his own. The third qualification of a bona fide teacher, of a good teacher, is that the bona fide teacher is someone who leads by example. That means the teacher, he himself practices it, and that's what he teaches others. It's not that, he practices something else and teaches something else, right? He himself practices it. And that's when he has the authority to speak it and teach it. And Srila Prabhupada, in his own amazing way, had such an amazing way of teaching people the process of Krishna consciousness. And everything he spoke, he did it himself. Everything he spoke, he lived by it himself. And that makes a bona fide spiritual master so very powerful. Now, we spoke about the qualifications of a teacher so far, right? Now, it is very important to understand what is the qualification of a disciple. In today's world, we are so used to asking and questioning the teachers, but seldom do we question ourselves. Am I qualified as a disciple? Am I at all qualified as a disciple? So here are some very interesting qualifications for a disciple to have. A disciple, the first qualification of a disciple is that he has to be, rather 3 things we're talking about. Hollow like a flute. He has to be hollow like a flute. What is the meaning of hollow like a flute? That means, what is the qualification of a flute? Interestingly, the flute is hollow, right? If whoever is blowing, a wind into the flute, according to the person who is blowing the wind, he is ready to be filled with instructions. This is the first qualification of a disciple. Is to be hollow like a flute. That means ready to be filled with instructions. The second qualification of a disciple is that he has to be transparent like a crystal. That means honest without duplicity. Transparency is so important for a disciple to have. And third, he should be light like a floating cloud. Light essentially means sinless, right? sin makes you very heavy. Sinlessness makes you light. You can float literally. So lightness essentially means that, the ability to not feel bogged down, burdened, like that. That's what. And when you have these three things, you're hollow like a flute, you're transparent like a crystal, and you're light as a cloud, you become heavy in the eyes of others. This is known as gravity. This is the qualification of a good disciple. The disciple has to be a transmitter of Guru Shakti. For a wire to be a good transmitter, it has to be free from carbon, isn't it? If a wire has carbon, then it cannot transmit electricity as it is. The disciple has to be free from all kind of carbon, sinful tendencies. And finally, the last thing that I would like to share with you all is about the 4 grades of a disciple. The 4 levels of disciples, and you can decide for yourself which grade you are in right now, right? The first grade of disciple is like petrol. Petrol. You see, petrol, what it takes for petrol to catch fire? One spark, that's all, right? One spark of fire falls on petrol, it blasts into a flame, right? One instruction of a teacher transforms the life of disciple completely. There are disciples who only need one instruction. That's all. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was a guru of Srila Prabhupada, gave Prabhupada one instruction in the beginning of his spiritual life, when he was 22 years old. He said, "You are an English-speaking man. You should preach in the English-speaking world the message of Lord Chaitanya." Prabhupada was at that time 22 years of age. And India was not free. This was much before 1947. And Prabhupada began to argue, saying that I can't, the world is suffering. I mean, Britishers have taken over India. How can we talk about preaching in the English language and preaching in the West? Bhakti Siddhanta just spoke to him for 15 minutes and told him, the biggest emergency is not freedom struggle. The biggest emergency is, even after you get freedom, still India will be in the captivity of material shackles. And that's what we are seeing now. The British Empire is gone, but where is India really free? So Bhakti Siddhanta was talking about spiritual freedom. And that message that Bhakti Siddhanta gave to Prabhupada at that point in 1922, Prabhupada kept it in his heart till 1965, when he began the Hare Krishna movement. He allowed that message to burn him. That one instruction of a teacher became the goal of his life, literally. These are very rare disciples who are like petrol. One spark, no resistance, no block, complete surrender. One instruction of a guru can transform their lives. The second grade of disciple is like camphor. Camphor is very interesting. Camphor, it's ready to burn, but it has to be in touch with flames for a few moments, right? If you bring the flame next to camphor, spark won't do anything for camphor. You can't burn camphor with spark. You need a flame. And you need the flame to be in touch with camphor for a few seconds. Then camphor burns. So such disciples, their consciousness is clean, their mind is peaceful, no expectations or desire, ready to burn. If they get association of a guru for some time, you need good amount of association with a teacher for some time, and they will burn like camphor. The third type of disciples are like charcoal. These are very interesting. And now we are coming closer to us. The petrol type of disciple we can't identify at all, very far, very high level. The camphor type of disciple also is a little on the far-fetched side. Charcoal is very much like us. So charcoal, very difficult to light, very hard to light it up, right? If any of you have tried to light up charcoal, you need several flares and a fan, and without fanning, it will not light up only. The guru has to become humorous. He has to fan the ego of the disciple to inspire them to do something in their lives. These disciples are filled with arrogance and stubbornness. Coal is black outside and black inside, isn't it? This type of disciple, very hard, very tough nuts to crack, very difficult. to actually get them inspired. The guru has to keep cracking jokes. The guru has to fan their ego. Has to really praise them and appreciate them, and then they'll go and do something in their lives. The fourth type of disciple are the worst of the lot. Fourth great disciple. A plantain tree, a banana tree, you have seen. Even if you put the entire tree into the fire, it will not burn. Why? So much water content inside it. It will only sizzle because it is filled with water. A person filled with material desires. For them, a guru is a commodity to use and exploit to fulfill their own desires. They are not interested in serving the guru. They are interested in taking service from the guru. They are like, it's like using a cannon bomb to kill a mosquito. Cannon bomb can burst an entire building, but they will use the cannon bomb to kill one mosquito. That's like using the spiritual master's wisdom to help you deal with your financial problems, family problems, and all that petty things, basically. So for a plantain tree to burn, it is practically impossible. So the question that all of us have to ask ourselves is, we just saw Arjun, who was so excited and so enthusiastic to take shelter of Krishna as a teacher. And we also saw Arjun, how qualified he is as a disciple. The eagerness to hear, the eagerness to learn, and eagerness to apply and imbibe in his life. The question that all of us have to ask is that, we are on the spiritual journey. We are embarked on the journey of spirituality, hopefully all of us. But the question is, am I ready for it? For a lot of people, they are not ready for it. Like, some people are like a stone. You take a stone and you want to make the stone move from one place to another. What do you have to do? The person has to lift the stone and put it there. There also it will go and sit. Some people are like a stone. Some disciples are like a stone. The guru only has to pick them up and put them there. They will go and sit there also. Some people are like a cart. First one is dhela. Dhela means stone. Second is thela. Thela means cart. The guru has to push them, and as much as the guru pushes, they will go ahead. The guru has to tell, are you chanting? They will say yes, yes. They will chant when the guru asks them, and then after the guru stops asking them, they will stop chanting. So as much the guru pushes, that much they will go ahead in their lives. And the third type of disciple is known as chela. Chela means the guru doesn't have to follow them up at all. The guru gives them one instruction. That's all. The disciple is so enthusiastic, so excited, and so inspired in his spiritual journey that he will follow enthusiastically by his own intelligence and his enthusiasm. And that's the kind of disciples that we all eventually need to become. Right now we may be dhelas, right now we may be thelas, whatever level we are, but eventually we should become chelas. Right now we may be like, plantain trees, or we may be like charcoal, but eventually we should become camphor, and possibly we should try to become like petrol. And that's when spirituality really will become such a beautiful part of our lives. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. Any questions, comments, discussions, please?
Namaste, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mohan.
Yeah. I was a teacher for about 11 years apart from my practice. And one of the students told me the meaning of guru. She said, GU means darkness and RU means remover. So she's a person who removes darkness from our lives, is a guru. And she used to always say, sir, you are our guru. Because I used to sit and solve their problems. So when it is regards to patients, so naturally they would feel it that way. But a very, very interesting lecture, and I really realized when you went on saying about petrol and camphor and charcoal, I probably looked at something more for me as compared to even a charcoal part of it. I think I'm beyond that. I have to reach the charcoal level very soon.
That's your humility speaking. So thank you for sharing. Hare Krishna. Girishi.
Hare Krishna. Did you say, or did I mishear you? Did you say a disciple should be sinless? You said disciple should be like a flute, and should also be sinless.
Correct.
But is that possible?
Yeah, got it. So the point is, see, you're right in the sense that it is not possible to be sinless, absolutely, and everybody does something or other. But like later on in the Gita, we'll come across a very interesting example that Krishna himself gives. There are different levels of sin. The idea of sin is it's a very what do you call it? Subjective term, right? It's not exactly a very, very clear understanding, right? So sinlessness essentially means lightness of heart. Sinlessness essentially means to the extent we can live a life where we do not cause pain to others. That's what the idea of sinlessness is connected with. So the more pain we cause, the more sin we cause. That's the whole thing. So to the extent we don't cause pain to anybody else, and we're living our own lives in a way that is pain, not causing harm and pain to others, I think that's what I would look at as sinless at this point. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments, please?
Thank you, Prabhuji. It was a wonderful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining in. So grateful and so happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Sunita ji, your question?
Hi, Prabhuji, namaste. I just wanted to ask you, there's so many different interpretations of the Gita, or there are many other Swamijis are also talking about it. And I'm not sure there is a parampara or a lineage there, but they're not wrong in what they're saying, or and I'm not sure. So how do you? And I see from the discussions that parampara is a big factor in Krishna consciousness. It may not be a big factor in other gurus. Who are talking about the same thing. So how do you weigh those? How do you rate those?
It's very simple. You judge the tree by the quality of its fruits. So you see any message that you come across, any teacher or any book that you come across, just see what is the impact that has caused in the world. If you look at the impact that Srila Prabhupada's teachings has caused in the world, it's phenomenal impact. I'm not talking about just the number of people that have been touched by it and all. I'm talking about life transformations of people who have actually given up a totally, crazy sinful life and taken up a very, very pure and a spiritual life, which is almost like impossible, in certain cultures, basically. So I would say that if you want to judge a tree, look at this. Look at the fruits that it has created. So,
sorry to interrupt.
So it's about not just the knowledge that the Gita gives us, but actually how to live by the message of the Gita. So I find this is where Srila Prabhupada stands out very powerfully. He is one person who has been able to inspire thousands and thousands of people across the world, practically in every continent, every country in the world, to live a life based on the Gita, which is commendable. Of course, there are other teachers, there are other great teachers, and if you come across a bona fide teacher who's connected to a parampara properly, you can take shelter. There's no chance, there's no possibility of only one teacher existing in the world. That's not possible only, right? It is not. That's not how Vedic culture works. If you come across a bona fide teacher who is connected to a parampara beautifully and very well aligned and being able to give the message as it is, you can go ahead. But if you don't find anyone, Prabhupada is there, very much waiting, except us.
Yeah, no, I have been exposed to Swami Chinmayananda's discourses and things like that. I have attended maybe one. I have heard of Mata Matanandamayi. So I'm not sure about their lineage or anything like that. But they have big followings. They have big.
Chinmay mission is Jnana Marga.
Okay.
They're primarily knowledge-based, parampara. knowledge-based religion. And ISKCON is Bhakti Marg, primarily focused on Bhakti.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
the difference between the two is this: Bhakti tends to encompass all the other aspects, karma, jnana, and Bhakti. So it kind of encompasses the others also. But
I
Jnana
see.
Marg doesn't exactly talk about the Bhakti element at all. It's very heavily knowledge-based understanding, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the
Thank
only
you.
difference. Otherwise, they are beautiful and wonderful personalities. And I know
Sure.
so many Chinmay Mission people. I know them very, very closely. Many of them are my very close friends also.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments, please?
That was a wonderful explanation on Chinmaya as well as your ISKCON. That's something which brings in a lot of clarity, I would say.
Pragyaji?
Prabhuji Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Actually, unfortunately, my phone switched off and I was traveling and I missed quite a bit of this talk. But I understand that in the beginning you were telling that like when we maybe worship God or when we pray, we tell him about our problems rather than seeking something higher. So I do that actually because when I am doing jap, I am mostly talking to him and conversational. My mind is in conversation. My mouth is in jap with him. Sometimes I've recently started conversing with him. Earlier it was my mind used to divert more. Now I'm able to think about Krishna. And again, I had some time back asked you about the feeling with which we worship Krishna, because I was very confused at that. And you had talked about this dasya bhav. And means I tried to develop that, and I'm thinking of that direction when I'm doing the job. But nonetheless, my conversation continues. I keep telling him that माँ की तबीयत ठीक नहीं है, देख लेना, संभाल लेना, I'll be in office, you take care. Like that, that conversation thing continues to happen. So I do want to share my problems with him, even though without telling anything to him, he knows everything. But I do not know whether this conversational, mental conversational thing is right. Otherwise, what am I, asking him, or what am I trying to talk to him? And that's what I just wanted to understand.
Thank you for your beautiful question. As always, let me offer you my thoughts, which might help you a little bit. See, it's like with any other family member, God is a part of our lives, right? So with our family members, we do talk good things and we also talk about our problems, right? So does it happen that you only talk about problems with our family members? No, you have such beautiful experiences of happy memories and happy situations of life, right? That's exactly how Krishna is. Go ahead and share your problems with him. Go ahead and share your sorrows with him. But just don't do only that. Offer your gratitude to him also, offer your joys to him also. I mean, I personally feel that it's important that we converse with Krishna in all aspects of life, right? Otherwise, I mean, just like any friend or family member, if you just go keep dumping issues with them, they'll start running away from you, right? They will kind of start avoiding you at some point, isn't it? So Krishna is a person, and this idea of having beautiful conversations with him is so sweet and so personal. So I think you have understood the philosophy wonderfully, and please go ahead and have your conversations with him, but just treat him as a person who probably also is looking for joyful, positive conversations also. I hope that helps.
Yes, Guruji, that is very nice. Another thing I wanted to know, maybe not pertaining to this session at all, is how to inspire my children who are grown-up boys into it. You have guided me about some
Okay.
Prabhuji in Canada. How do I bring them there? That you talk about stone. How do I bring it? First of all, I am not less stone, maybe I am also very stony. And having, just entered this circle of, spirituality discourses on spirituality, I was just thinking how to keep them along. So how to bring them in, grown-up boys, not young children. So
usually what I do with young boys and girls is that I invite them on treks with me.
Actually, that's such a wonderful thing. Unfortunately, I'm not able to join this current trek.
Yeah.
I'll
So
be
in
there
future,
shortly.
so what I do is I do a lot of events, a lot of sessions with the youngsters, where I speak subjects that are not at all heavy loaded like what we are doing in these Gita classes, but it's something that they can really connect and relate with. Like I did one session with youngsters about dealing with their time management issues. So then I spoke to them about how to do multitasking, how to organize and prioritize your life and things like that. And we'll talk about friendship, relationships, and things like that, which are very relevant to them. Take them on mountains and do trekking with them and have some fun with them. So basically, the idea is that we develop a relationship with them first. So with youngsters, the most important thing that we need to do is build trust. When we have trust building exercises, which is very informal through fun activities, then they actually start valuing you and understanding. So right now, for most youngsters, our world is very different from their world. We need to create a bridge to help them understand that, Baba, there is a bridge that exists between our world and their world. And I'm ready to walk on that bridge. Only then they will be ready to climb on that bridge, basically. So that's what these other ideas that I have are all about. So we will keep you informed about many other activities that we have where we do things for youngsters, time and again. And whenever it is possible for you to, send them across and without any threat, without any pushing, without any warnings and firings and, all that very, very voluntarily when they come, that's the best way we can take it ahead. Another very easy way is that I can come to your house and spend time with them to begin with and have just a simple conversation with them. And then that's how the ice breaks.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Actually, they live in Canada. I was telling you the other day. Your friend who's there. So sure. I intend to, sure. Zoom. Getting them to Zoom is not easy. Getting them to trek was very easy. So just unfortunately, they're not here. So
so you connect them to Hemant. He'll take good care of them.
Okay.
I've spent like years and years knowing Hemant and his wife Aditi. They'll take good care of them.
Yeah. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments before we close for today?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for being here so enthusiastically, and hope all of you are practicing your spiritual lives nicely. Starting from 1st April, many of you all who are a part of Mumbai will get a lot of invites for offline programs. So please be ready to join in whenever we call you all. And of course, for the rest of you all, we are always there online or Zoom on the Gita classes. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.